All right, we're officially live. All right, I've got an amazing crew this morning. Again, Strive for 25. We're here talking about income streams and things. And again, Strive for 25, what that means. Sorry. So what that means is increase income, save 25%, and have options to invest. And everybody on this panel has an income stream and is choosing to invest their money in different things. Real estate is a common theme with this group as well. So I've got Lorna Lane in Florida. I got Parker Beater in Atlanta and Dylan also in Texas. So thank you guys so much for making time.
For sure.
Good to be here.
All right. All right. So Parker, I'm going to start with you. Okay. So you started your journey in Amazon in September of last year.
Yep.
And you just quit your job. What the hell is going on? How do you do that in how many months?
Yeah, so pretty much what I do is called online arbitrage. I buy online on sales from like regular retail sites, and then I sell the items on Amazon. I now have it down to where I have a prep center that packs all of the items. I have a virtual assistant from the Philippines who handles all the admin work, and then I have a CPA as well who handles the books. So pretty much was able to start kind of like from going in the store, finding discounts here and there, and then scale that to like buying stuff online, and make it into an actual business. And after 9 months of like, it took a lot of work for sure, but being able to quit your job for a side hustle that you really enjoy a lot more than just, because I was working in the hospital. So it was kind of a lot of work and call schedules and working weekends and stuff to be able to do this instead of that, has been awesome.
Okay. Lauren, I'm going to jump to you. So, Parker, right? He had a vision. He went all in on something and, he's gone down this path. Speaking of income streams, you kind of just stumbled into yours with the tortoises. So, whoa, how did you get there?
Yeah, so I also worked in the medical field originally, and I was a dietitian, and I started kind of like real estate as my side hustle, not really a side hustle, but just, a way to change my career path and create more passive income. And in doing so, I got into the equestrian properties, and there's a lot of industries that surround real estate and a lot of things that you realize people that are into real estate need, and maybe some things that you've never heard of before. And I certainly had never heard of this before, but I bought a piece of vacant land and found out there was an protected species on the land, which was tortoises, and you have to be a certified tortoise agent in order to move them. So I went and did the certification. Well, first I asked, how much is this going to cost to move off of my property? And they quoted me between $20,000 and $30,000. And I was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to pay for that. So then I thought, okay, maybe I'll just do this myself. I went and got the certification, and now I'm able to mark the burrows, find the tortoises, and if people want to move them off their property, then I can move them off their property, and I can do it for large housing developments. I can do it for anyone who finds these tortoises on their property. They have to use a certified tortoise agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dylan, I think you started your entrepreneurial journey in real estate, doing some fix and flips, and then got into Amazon. Why Amazon at that point?
Yeah, so started in real estate, pretty traditional path, like just doing long-term rentals. Really, my goal was the BRRRR strategy, so buy, rehab, renovate, refinance, and repeat. So I did that while I had pretty demanding full-time jobs. So kind of similar to Parker, like kind of managing, you know, super demanding full-time job while trying to scale up real estate. And that's kind of what gave me financial freedom, so to speak. And the thing with real estate, I love it as a long-term investment play, but the cash flow is there, but I would say it's not active income. Like I wanted something that I could put time and more energy into and grow and scale. That also, I like the idea that it's remote as well. Like you can really do it from anywhere. So that's what got me interested in Amazon. I was looking at a lot of different strategies, like within real estate as well. Like I liked wholesaling. I did some wholesale deals in real estate, but I don't know. I kept seeing people talk about Amazon and scaling. I saw guys like Parker up there putting up huge orange bars, and I'm like, I want to be a part of this. So yeah, that's what got me into it. And I'm definitely way earlier on than Parker. About 4 months in, I guess now, but yeah, it's addicting. There's definitely something to it, and I'm also doing the online arbitrage method that Parker does as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in my mind, right, I'm a mortgage lender. That's my day job, and the biggest limiting factor that I see for people who want to get into real estate, buy a house, or even get into rentals, the biggest limiting factor is having enough money saved. And then, okay, well, what can you do to be able to attack that situation? Well, you have a 9 to 5 job. You know, people are struggling for the most part because the cost of living has gone up so much in the last few years. And so what can you do? There's not much to cut in most budgets. So the savings equation is simple. Income minus expenses equals your savings. So if there's not a whole lot that you can do on the expense side, what else can you do to be able to attack that equation? Well, other part of it is income. What can you do to increase income? And you know, when you're talking about time, right? There's only so much time and energy in a day. And this crew talking about full-time jobs and then doing things on the side to be able to add or supplement. Not everybody is doing that or willing to do that. So I kind of want to open that up. You know, why, how, and what were you guys able to, you know, make the time to do these things to build and scale?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just kind of, for me, like I was a former athlete, so I pretty much spent all my time always like putting everything I had into something. And then when I went into the workforce, it was kind of like a salary position. And I struggled with having something to work toward on a daily basis instead of just showing up to work. So for me, it was like, I need to find something else to kind of put my passion into on the side of work, and finding like a side business. It doesn't even have to be like a business. Pretty much anything that you put your mind to, like all week, all the time, something that gives you a little bit of purpose during the day. And that I feel like will actually lead you into some money and some side income more than just looking for money like straight out the gate, just in my opinion.
Yeah, building off that real quick, like I think you can even find it in like a normal W-2 as well. Like if you have like a sales position with uncapped earning potential, like you just kind of have to think of, you know, an hourly wage is that's what you're going to make. But if you want to make extra income, that extra 25% that you're talking about, like you got to get creative. You got to start a side business or find a career or path where you can make more money, like with the extra effort you put in getting rewarded. Like if you have a normal salary job, you put that extra effort, you're still going to get that paycheck at the end of the day. But if it's a sales role or something else where you can get bonuses, like there's a lot of opportunity to just kind of find that type of career path where you're going to get rewarded for your extra effort.
Yeah, it's so much easier now with the internet. I mean, you can look up on YouTube, see what other people are doing, and just find something that calls to you and that you feel you're like, that seems interesting. I feel like that would match my skill set or something that I'm already kind of interested in. Because I think having the little bit of like passion behind what you do or interest in what you're doing is going to give you the energy to put that extra time that you're going to have to do in the beginning. You know, you're not going to make money right away. It's probably something you're going to have to learn a little bit about for a month or two. And then maybe in 4, 5, 6 months, it's going to pay out. So you have to have that interest, that passion to keep you going through those first few months when you're not making any money off of it.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things is not having like shiny object syndrome of jumping from one thing 1 month, one thing another month, like actually seeing it through for that 6 months to see what you can do. And like, if it's not working then yeah, maybe we change, but jumping from thing to thing, like you're probably not going to be successful at something in like less than a month or two.
Totally.
I think it's also like a mindset thing. Jumping off what Lawrence said, is there's so many ways to make money. I mean, if you're doing DoorDash or Uber, like there's so many opportunities to just make a little extra income. But like you have to have that mindset and be willing to put the work in, and knowing like if you're early on and you're just trying to like make an extra buck, like you got to hustle for it. You got to earn that income, and then there'll be more opportunities down the road where it might get easier. But it's a mindset thing for sure.
All right, we got a few people in the comments. I got Homes and Hustles. She's in Tennessee. We got Financial Firefighter Aloha from Hawaii. So I'm 40. I'll be 41 in a few days later in the month. Mark is 45, and he is currently at the doctor right now, getting his colons checked out. So we want to wish him well for the next couple days. Right. I mean, hey, it's fate for all guys at some point in time. It's just
You respect the grind, hopping on the stream though, for sure.
Using his time wisely.
Mark, I will not hamoo you later. I'll give you a couple days of rest from my attention here. Stay Winning Podcast out in California. Good morning, winners. Yes, sir. Good to see you. He's got a channel that he just recently monetized. He's monetized on X. So, he's got a lot of insights as well. Thanks for hopping on, y'all. I want to kind of hit back on the time part of it, right? I saw real estate as an opportunity to be able to, free up and claw back time in the future, right? Okay, I'm working hard. I'm in a sales job. I bought a couple of properties, turned a couple into rentals along the way. And it took probably 5 years to be able to actually see, oh, shoot, like this is actually working. This could be a viable strategy for the long term, though. It's just a slower game. And so continue to push the pedal on trying to increase income, save more money so I can acquire more stuff to be able to then get time back, retire early or financial freedom in the future to be able to have that as a possibility and plant those seeds early on. But, when it's late and, you're in your 20s or 30s and, you have friends that are going out or people wanting to spend time with you, but you have the option. Do you do that, or you choose to work on a business that you may not see results for a while? And that's a struggle that I know that I've had to deal with, for a long time, and good days and bad days and whatnot. And one of the things that I had to learn was kind of going back to the mindset part of things that Dylan mentioned, is the mindset of reframing things into, okay, well, this sucks. I have to miss, my time with my friends, or go to this party, or go to the bar, or whatever. And hey, okay, this is the opportunity to be able to make this thing, stack these wins for the future, having to reframe it into a positive. And I know with what Parker's doing with he's got a community that he's building, and having like-minded people. I think yours is more D1 athletes getting into this kind of Amazon stuff. And when you can take these wins and share them with people in your community, the hard stuff turns into fun stuff. If you can turn something hard into fun and reframe it that way, that's something that, it's helped me personally. But when it's late at night and you can press that I'll do it tomorrow button versus, getting it done in the moment, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the biggest thing, like going back to what you're talking about, hanging out with friends, I just think you have to think about what you want, because not everybody, like, their goal is to make money, and that's fine. Like, each person's their own thing, but you have to decide, like, do I really enjoy going to the bar? Like, do I genuinely enjoy going to the bar, waking up the next day and feel that way? Because I've obviously done that as well. And like, that's just a phase that I went through in my life. But then you just have to decide, like, do I want to change my future, or do I want to just like continue living the same life? And it's fine either way, but that's just kind of a decision you have to make. And that helps me, like, if I miss a hangout with friends and stuff because I'm doing Amazon, I just kind of think what I want with my life and look into the future a little bit.
Yeah, I think when you're young, it's really hard to like sacrifice. Everything is like in the moment. I know for me, like when I was in college, I always wanted to be at like every party and be involved. And it's like, it can be hard to sacrifice if you don't have a clear goal that you're working towards, because you need to be able to say, like, what is this for, so that you can weigh it out. When I turned 21, I decided that I wanted to go to Southeast Asia on like a solo backpacking trip. But also I was a college student. I was living in Santa Barbara, California, which, if anyone knows, it's a very expensive town to live in. And I was working. So I had school during the day. I was working a restaurant job, and I needed to figure out a way to make money. I was living in a house with 3 of my best friends. We were having incredible parties. It was so much fun, but I had this bigger dream and I'm like, I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to do something with my life. I don't want to look back on this time and go, I just partied my whole way through college. So I ended up moving out of that house and into a house where I could do like a work trade with this mom who needed help driving her kids to school. So I would drive her kids to school before I went to school, and that reduced my rent. So that saved me money. And then I actually started selling avocados to the restaurants in exchange for food credit so that I could still go out to the restaurants, and they would pay me like 25 cents an avocado. And I would literally go around the neighborhoods and pick off people's avocado trees. I didn't have an avocado tree, but they're like a hot commodity in Santa Barbara, and they're all over the place. So I would like knock on people's door and be like, hey, your avocados are falling on the ground. Do you want me to clean these up for you? And so they would actually sometimes pay me to clean them up. And then I would go take those avocados and sell them to the restaurants. And that way I could still go out with my friends every once in a while and not have to pay for going out. And so I think you just have to have that like compelling goal. I was so determined to travel. I wanted it so badly that I was willing to sacrifice the fun and the parties and all of that. And for me, that was a pivotal moment in my life. Like that trip changed everything for me. I was just like, wow, there's a whole world out there. There's so much to experience. And I think if you can find something that you really want to do, then those sacrifices don't even really become a question. It's like, yeah, I have no interest in that. That's a dead end. That's not leading me to my goals and where I want to go. So I think that question of like, what are you doing it for is really important.
Yeah. And it's hard with loved ones, I think, like when you start a journey like that to help them like understand what you're kind of building. But I think eventually they kind of catch on and start to really support you. And like they see anyone that sees you're passionate and actually like really loves you is gonna, they're gonna back whatever you do for 100%.
Yeah. And they also may not. They may be like, what you're doing is stupid. They may say like, that's never going to work and it's really negative. And maybe you need to like protect what you're doing from people who are negative and not talk about it as much with people, because I do see that happen a lot. Even in real estate, people are like, I'm going to get into wholesaling or I'm going to get into flipping. They're like, oh, good luck. It's never going to work. Maybe your family's never seen it done before. So they become really negative. And so especially with people who have like product ideas, I feel like sometimes you just need to like keep that really close to the chest and work on it in silence and maybe not talk about it, and find a community online of other people who are going to support that, so that you have that support system around you and you don't let other people take the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And Dylan, you probably know this, like having that Amazon community. Because for me, like now when I hang out with friends, it's like hopping on to talk about Amazon instead of like going out and hanging out with the people that I was. It's the same thing. Like on a Saturday night, I'm still just doing what I love and with other people and friends that I've made. But having that community to make it actually fun instead of doing stuff on your own and kind of just looking at a computer all day, that's like a big difference as well, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. Like, when I was doing real estate, it was honestly just me. Like, I did all my deals myself, and it was just me kind of looking at a computer and typing numbers in, and like, like sometimes I'd find resources online and like chat with people in like forums and stuff. But it was pretty lonely, and like yeah. I mean, you have hard days, and it's just you and yourself kind of contemplating why you're doing this and why you're pushing so hard. When I got introduced to Amazon, though, like the community is incredible. It's just like totally keeps you motivated if you have a down day. Like there's other people who have gone through that, and now I'm trying to find that for real estate again too, because it's so important. Like I think, like Lauren said, having your why is going to keep you self motivated and keep you pushing towards a goal. But having that community to kind of keep you built up and having fun along the way is like absolutely crucial.
I want to add on that, but real quick, Stay Winning, he says median house price in Santa Barbara is $2.7 million.
Yeah.
Okay. In St. Louis, like that's just like, Frontenac or Huntley,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
Yeah.
like one little bitty town that's like that. Anyway, Homes and Hustles has a question on the Amazon side. Is the key to winning volume or margin? What's the way you win in Amazon?
I think there's a bunch of ways to do it. There's a lot of people doing wholesale that are doing a lot more volume, and then online arbitrage is a little bit, I'd say, higher margin, but probably you're not going to be able to get as much quantity. So at the end of the day, I think it all depends on what you're bringing, like the profit margin that you're able to bring in monthly in comparison to your sales. So there's a couple different routes with that. But Dylan, I don't know if you think differently on that.
No, nailed it. I think like even just on my personal store, if I'm looking at a product that moves super quick, like I might take a little bit smaller margin if it's like an item that maybe is low return, and I can sell, let's say 50 a month versus maybe a shoe where my margin is going to be a lot higher, but I might only sell 2 or 3 a month. Both are items that I would sell, but you're kind of making decisions based on, that volume to profit.
Yeah.
The point that you made about Dylan, about in real estate, making money and doing it all alone and kind of lonely, like that resonates with me too. When on several respects, when I look back at my journey of building a mortgage business in 2012 and 13, I kind of had a niche and had some really good years and kind of knocked it out of the park with a couple things. And I was making, pretty much $500,000 a year. And I don't really talk, I've never really talked about it, to be honest. This is probably the first time on air I've talked about this. But I didn't have anybody in my circle that had any realm of understanding what that was like. And it was freaking lonely. There's online communities weren't out there. And the clients that I worked with were on the East Coast. So like I wasn't meeting people face to face. I was just in a little bitty office working nonstop on the phone, making shit happen. And I didn't have any friends or family that had any idea that it was happening or got it. So it was one of those things where like I look back on it, if I had somebody, a community or a group that, I should have found an entrepreneurship group or something to be able to connect with, but it wasn't on my mind and I wasn't aware of it. I think like, as you're saying, it's just so important, to find people that are, in the same lane.
What do you think kept you going during that period?
I mean, it's just crazy. Like when you're working nonstop, and I was, dating and living with my current wife, that was always a struggle because I was working so much. But when you're in a commission job, just like what you guys are doing, you're all in. Like if you're not closing loans, you're not doing selling product, like you're not making money. And like that was that constant fear of, okay, what if I don't have any loans to close in 3 months? And that constant fear is really kind of what kept pushing me in that regard. But yeah, it's just either you can do it or you can't. Like sales and that commission type of thing it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I can relate a lot.
Yeah. And I think a good point that you made about like how nobody knew what you were doing is the fact that now like you see you're posting all this content and you're gonna find those people. And that was something I learned with Amazon is I was never posting my first couple months and it was really hard to find people. And you really don't understand the opportunities that can come about just posting online. And that's something in itself. Like if you're looking for a side income, just start posting content about your favorite thing that you do on an everyday basis. Eventually, if you post consistently and actually have good content of like bringing value, because it could be like growing a garden or something, but you post consistently for months, people are going to start to follow you. And then eventually down the road, you're going to be able to monetize that somehow.
Yeah. And I look back at my journey on social media and I started in 2022 of actually posting intentionally and consistently. And I kept having this thing in my mind, like I would post on Twitter and like, I would never have any comments, like no engagement. And I didn't understand the game and didn't understand it. It just, I wasn't doing it enough. I wasn't doing all the little things to comment and seek out people that are kind of in a similar position and just finding, a community or building a community and just staying in touch with people. I was just posting. I wasn't really doing some other things to really, add value or connect with people because I didn't get the game. And one of the things that I had to learn was that, and this kind of goes back to, right time, right place, the book Winning. I was just in the right mindset to be able to receive that book. And one of the things Tim Grover talks about with Kobe and Jordan and those types of greats, and, the regular people, they count down to a deadline, 3, 2, 1, half-ass some project to the finish line. And those guys, they pick a goal and a mission, and it's just day 1, day 100, day 1,000, and they don't stop till they get there. And for me, that hit me hard because I have this ADHD brain, and kind of what Parker you're saying with the shiny object syndrome. On the next thing, on the next thing, on the next thing. So just, okay, I'm going to post, and I don't care what the result is, and I'm just not going to stop. And day 1, day 100, et cetera. So I went a full year, 365 of never missing a day on the Strive Instagram page. Still don't know what I'm doing, but I know a lot more than I did day 1. So
yeah, it's all trial and error too. Like the more I think of it like shots on goal. So you're going to hit on a few things here and there. You're probably going to miss a lot, but the team that takes the most shots is usually going to score. And if you just keep pumping the content out, eventually you're going to figure it out.
Yep.
I have a question for you guys. How did you guys identify your first product? Parker, you said you were going into stores and looking for what was on sale and doing it that way. Is that kind of how you still do it? And do your products change, or do you keep them the same?
Yeah, so we have an app that's called SellerAmp, and it doesn't really matter what the product is. I'm just looking at the data behind it, and pretty much what the data is going to tell us is like how many sellers are on there, how fast is selling on Amazon, how many, how profitable is it, how much money you can make. And so for me, it was literally just looking at the charts rather than the items. Now I kind of have a feel for like what I want to sell, and I do like a lot of clothing and apparel, just because that's kind of where I've gotten into. I start to recognize items and kind of like how to make them profitable. But it's really like you could sell anything at the very beginning. It's just kind of like the data and how that looks.
Yeah, I have a friend here in my office. I'm in like a co-working space, and she does e-commerce marketing, and she does have a guy who does, I think, similar to what you guys are doing, and he sells shower hooks. So it could be, I can see how it could really, there's like endless possibilities of what you could sell.
Yeah. And there's another business model called private label, which is where you actually make your own product as well. And I know a lot of people having success with that. That's a little bit more of like a huge investment, but that's kind of like a long-term goal for a lot of these Amazon sellers, is use that online arbitrage, flip and resell some products, build up some capital, and then move into wholesale and private label, which are kind of like more standardized business models. Is that your goal, Dylan? Or you thinking just stick with OA?
Want to go wholesale actually. So in a past job I had, I did some like B2B sales and stuff like that. So I feel like wholesale is a pretty natural transition for me. Especially like as I'm scaling OA, I'm realizing how difficult it is to like keep track of all these orders, and it's just a lot of moving parts when you're placing so many orders with online arbitrage. So the idea of like placing one PO for $50,000 sounds amazing to me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably my near-term goal. I think it'll be like an easier transition, but I do like private label, specifically because you like build more IP around your business and more of like an enterprise value, which I think is like kind of the one downside I see with Amazon is you don't have much value to your store. Like it's us generating the income, we're putting in the work every day. You can make it a lot easier on yourself with VAs and prep centers and all that, but there's not much like sale value to it. But if you do build like private label brands, then you're building a business. You're building something that's sellable and gets you some equity. So I do like the idea of that. But yeah, I'm just focusing on OA right now. That's the only goal right now.
Yeah. And that's the good thing as well. Like realizing you're only 4 months in, and a lot of people I feel like try to take the leap too early. I think wholesale just requires a ton of capital. Like you need like tens of thousands, in my opinion, to make, because you want to get higher quantities and purchase a lot more so that you can get a lower price. But if you don't have that money, then you're not going to be making as much as you could. And then it's just your capital's tied up because you put purchase orders and the items don't get there for 6 weeks. So I think OA is a great entry level model, and then kind of like advance from there.
Yeah, and you got to have a lot of confidence to drop that much money on one invoice, and you know, I'm not ready for that yet.
Stay Winning says, what are your thoughts on white label?
On white label, I'm not even sure I know what that is, to be honest with you.
Neither.
So I'm assuming he's talking about maybe it's like a supplement or a product, and just put a label. You can buy stuff wholesale, white label it, and then put your own brand on it. Maybe that's more of a Shopify thing. I'm not really sure.
I think I have briefly heard of that. I've actually never looked into it myself, so I can't really give any good information on that. But I know people. I think what they're doing is like taking a product that exists and kind of just twisting it a little bit into like their own branding. That would be my best guess on it, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like it would be kind of like a private label type of thing. Like if you bought like just let's say a generic like Stanley Cup, but you put Parker on it or something, kind of maybe a mix of private label as well.
Yeah.
So many ways to make money on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, easy versus hard, if I've got a full-time job, let's just say it's a ordinary 9 to 5, how much time would you say it would take a week or a day or a month to say maybe you want to make an extra couple $1,000s a month net, $1,000 to $2,000 in net, just to be able to save money?
I think there's no like perfect answer for this, but I think a lot of it comes down to how many people you talk to in the community, because I have friends that I made like very early on that are able to really help me out, like pretty much cut my work in half or in thirds because I'm working with other people. But if you're working alone, like you have to find all this stuff yourself. So it's probably going to take triple the time than I'm putting in. So I think realistically, you could do like an hour a day and then really focus on networking with other people, make some friends in the community and have them help you. And any mistakes that they've made, they're able to automatically give you before you even have to make them. And it just saves you so much time.
Are you okay sharing the community that you guys are in, the name of it?
Oh, so I was in like a mentorship, and it was from this guy, Flips for Miles on Twitter. And the first thing I did when I got in there is just like, hey, I'm a new seller. I'm looking to network. And there was a community of people. I found a few people like kind of around my age. And I think that's very important, is finding people that you kind of get along with within the community and not just kind of picking people out like whoever, because it feels a little bit forced, kind of like a coworker in a way, like you're kind of stuck with them. But if you pick people that you'd actually hang out with on the weekend, then that bond is like a lot stronger, I would say.
Yeah, and so I was in that same one. And it takes a bit of an investment up front, but I definitely think I got the value out of it like tenfold. It just like expedited my learning curve. And like Parker said, you're just immediately surrounded by people that are like willing to invest into learning this and scaling this. So that definitely helped me as well.
How did you know that was the right one to spend money on? Because I mean, there's a lot of different types of communities or mentorships that are out there in various niches. Is it niche or niche? Who says niche and who says niche, by the way?
I think you can pick either.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
I'm a niche guy.
I hate the word, so I'm just gonna say specialty. So how did you know that was the right community to invest in that specialty?
I think it's a tough decision for sure, because there's so many out there now and you don't really know what's real and what's fake. But I think at the end of the day, like it's up to you a little bit. Like someone who doesn't put in work, no matter what community they join, they're probably not going to have success. But if you're willing to like put everything into it, there's got to be at least some value from majority of these courses, I would say. For me, I think Miles was like someone who's been in the industry for like over 5 years, had a lot of success. I had actually learned from a lot of his content originally, and that's how I actually got started. So for me to join into something that he runs and be able to have like his phone number and stuff like that was huge. But there's a lot of different ways you could go with it for sure.
Okay, so with what I know right now in real estate, I buy a property. This is my philosophy. I buy a property. I live in it, especially if you're on the younger side, easier to move, less things holding you back. Buy a property, live in it for a few years, save up, buy the next one, turn it into a rental, do it again. You know, I talk about buying 4 properties in 8 years. If you can do that, you're going to be able to build a $2 to $3 million portfolio in the long run. Easier said than done. I get that. And then as I evolved in my own journey, got into some multifamily stuff, and short-term rental in Florida, other stuff along the way. And the goal for me is, okay, if I can have a property that's paid off at some point, like then it's just straight cash flowing. Like that's a major win. It's a major vision, light at the end of the tunnel kind of a thing. And if you have, the more of those you have, the more, you know, security you can have. So for you guys in this space, what's that light at the end of the tunnel? Like what's the benchmark you're trying to get to?
For me, the goalpost just keeps moving, and it's kind of tough. It's like I had a goal similar to Lauren's actually, where when I was buying real estate, my sole focus was to be able to travel. And so every property I bought, I would, you know, do my numbers after all expenses. Okay, I'm cash flowing $200 a month for this door. So I'm like, okay, I need to get X amount of doors. And once I do that, I can go and travel and be free. And so that was like my sole focus. That's all I thought about during that period. And it happened, it worked out. And that was like, that happened. As soon as that happened, I was like, okay, traveling's great. But like, I missed the high of running a business and scaling and growing. And like, that's really what I enjoy. Like I love traveling. I want to do a lot more of it, but it was during that period where I'm like, I miss that energy. And so that's when I got into Amazon. Now that's all I can think about and scaling that. And like, there's certain numbers I want to hit, but I feel like for me personally, it's just probably going to keep moving. Like, I think, you know, once I'm hopefully really successful in Amazon, maybe have a wholesale business, hopefully there's something else that catches my attention and like do another adventure. But I think it's, for me personally, it's the game that I'm addicted to. Like, I think that's what I've simplified it down to at this point.
Yeah. What would you guys say for somebody, because obviously you guys all had real estate experience. What would you say is like, how did you guys learn kind of like first intro steps to real estate of someone who wants to get in?
I went to a networking like meetup. I went on meetup before I had any investment properties. And I had like a primary residence, but before I had any investment properties, I went to a real estate meetup. And the people that I met at that initial meetup are still like my main network today. It's like that one meetup changed everything. So I think it's all about community. You just find people who are already doing it and get around them as much as possible. It's almost inevitable that you'll get into real estate at that point if you can get around people. And I do think that in-person meetups can be more really valuable too. Like if you can find something in your area. And when I moved here to Ocala, I didn't know anybody, but I had chosen this place to invest in. And I immediately joined the like MCREA, which is a national organization for real estate investors. And so you can find one in whatever town you're in. You can go to your local real estate investors association.
What those early on meetings that you went to, coming from, I'm assuming kind of from scratch, what were some of the lessons or messages that were being discussed that you took from that helped you along the way?
It was really, I mean, they had different like speakers that would come. Someone would come and talk about how they were doing Airbnb. Someone else would talk about like doing midterm rentals to nurses and doctors. Some people were doing house flipping. It was really just the connection with the people though. Like I didn't know anyone who did equestrian properties. So it didn't exactly lead me to what my niche is now, but it did give me the confidence to just like take the leap and buy a property. And my first property wasn't an equestrian property. I like slowly moved in that direction as I learned more about the area and what would do well here.
Okay. Just a quick update. So we've got some more eyes in the streaming. We got 48 people now there. I'm not sure from where, but they're coming. We're talking about income streams and things. We've got Lauren Elaine, who's in Ocala, Florida. Parker Beater, baseball guy, Amazon guy in Georgia. Dylan in Texas, also Amazon guy, talking about income streams and then investing. Thank you all. If you're out there, feel free to comment in the chats. From a standpoint of, when I look at real estate, right? Like, it's such a slow game, and hearing the strategies and hearing the different things, with it's short-term rental and long-term rental and fix and flip, like, once you actually do one thing, like, there's just so many little things that come up that you have to be able to figure out. Just like trying to sell something on Amazon, a million things that pop up, and having that community there is so important. So going to these live events, I mean, were there people that you connected with early on, or was it a process to be able to make those relationships? How is that journey to be able to make those connections for you, Lauren, early on?
So I went to like a meetup that was it was like, I don't know, probably like 20 people. Someone was just like, hey, I'm hosting a meetup. And for whatever reason, almost all of those people continued on with real estate and moved into real estate investing full time. So I think maybe I just kind of got really lucky there to have such a great community right off the bat. But I also went to the Bigger Pockets conference last year, which was the first time. I never watched Bigger Pockets or read any of the books, the content. Like, I still haven't to this day, because so when I went to the conference, I didn't know anybody or who anyone was. And I made connections there that have helped me further in what I'm doing now, like changing from equestrian properties to like industrial and storage. So I think all along the way, as you grow, you know what your pain point is, and try to identify people who can help you with that. So like when I was at those initial meetups, I just wanted to find somebody who had their first property. And I found somebody who was like just one step in front of me. And that, I think, makes it easier than if you find somebody who is been doing it for a really long time and they don't even really remember what it's like to be there at the beginning. And what they are saying and talking about can sometimes go over your head. So just find people that are like almost peers, but just like one step ahead. And I feel like it can be really beneficial, because they can be like, I was just there. I just dealt with that problem, and here's what I did and wish I had known. So I think you just go out and meet people and like connect with people online, message people. Just don't be afraid to like reach out to people and seek out people who are also kind of beginners or at your same level, whatever level that is.
And I feel like it's natural human nature for people to help you out if they see you're working really hard. That's one thing I've noticed in the Amazon community, is like the people that are posting content, like they're asking questions, people are just flooding in and helping them out. And the same thing with going to a conference or something like that. Like if you show up to something like that, everyone's going to respect you regardless of where you're at, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we're talking, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, at the last conference, the Bigger Pockets conference I went to, I was just deciding that like, okay, I'm going to move into small bay industrial and storage facilities now. And so obviously I found AJ Osborne is like one of the main people. He has a huge, he's the only person on social media that is talking about storage at this point. And so he was there, and I just walked up and I had certain questions that I wanted to ask, and he was more than happy to answer them and super helpful. And I think if you can just have the confidence or just the courage, I guess, to go up and ask people or send somebody a message, they're probably going to answer it for you. Because everybody, like, we all remember what it's like to be at the very beginning and just feel so lost and be like, but where do I even start? That's like the question. It's like, how do I begin? I know you're saying I could just do this, but like truly, like, what is the first thing that I do? It can be really hard to begin. And so just having somebody, like reaching out to someone, they'll give you the answer.
Yeah. And I think that first step is the hardest one. Like, you think you're like, there's people thinking there's no way I would go to a real estate conference, like, and meet up with all these random people. But like the people that do go do that, like that just shows how much they care about this, and they're gonna win in the end. Like, it's just how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know for me personally, I don't recommend this for everybody out there, but this is just how my mind works. okay, I've been thinking about this thing for so long. I'm overanalyzing it, and I know that I need to do it, but I haven't done it yet. Okay, I'm just gonna like do a little more work. I'm just gonna jump in and just force myself to figure it out. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I know that I'm doing things and working on certain things in the process that I never would have been able to get to if I wouldn't have just taken the leap of faith, just knowing how my own mind works. And once you get into real estate, like I keep talking about this, like now you have this extra pressure. Okay, I have to make that mortgage payment. I have to be able to make sure I have enough money to, if something goes wrong. The extra, focus on this process is something that I saw myself doing over time, to force myself to be able to do these things. And real estate, as I've kind of gone down this journey, all the different strategies, all the different stuff, I've seen so many people. I have a client right now that's closing on a house at the end of this month that I pre-approved in 2019 to buy a house, and she never bought a house. Every year was the same conversation.
Wow.
Okay, I think the market's going to come down, rates are going to come down, and now I'm just going to wait. And it's just the same thing, just different topic or reason. And then finally now she's buying a house. And she would have bought a house in 2019. She would have had like so much equity built up. But again, that's just one example. But I talk about real estate, and I think all the time you spend on analyzing deals and strategy and this and that, like, okay, all that time that you spend, maybe you find one perfect deal that you buy, and it's a great deal. Cool. All those hours and days and weeks and months that you spend on all that research and all the stuff, what else could you have been doing with that time? If you would have been spending that time on an income stream, making more money, saving more money, now the pressure is off to find the perfect deal. You could have bought 4 deals, and it doesn't really matter because now you're looking at it long term. If it's instead of having to get 25% under market, you're getting it 5% under market because you're knowing you're looking at it long term. That's how my mindset is kind of adjusted over time. And I bring it up because I want to ask Dylan a question. Being kind of on both sides, okay, building up a portfolio of real estate, and then also down this kind of income stream lane. How is your vision adjusted, change over time? Which one do you prefer, not prefer? Like how do you intertwine those two things?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I've been thinking a lot about kind of what we were just talking about a second ago as well. It was like the learning phase and like how do you go about it? Because I'm basically doing that all over again. I spent about 3 years doing it in real estate, and now I'm starting over again on Amazon. And I think like when it comes to learning something new and like diving in, I mean, how I got into real estate was literally on YouTube, exactly how I got into Amazon, just diving in, listening to every, YouTube video I could from all the gurus. And then I did dive into Bigger Pockets. So I probably have listened to over 400 Bigger Pockets episodes. Like, and each episode you pick out a new nugget, a little something that's going to help you here. But at the end of the day, it's literally, I feel like real estate, Amazon, any business you start, it's as simple as like, just do it. And then you're going to have a problem you don't know the answer to, and you have to find the answer either through a friend or honestly just Googling around and like, just figure it out. And that's exactly how I scaled real estate. It was just one problem after another and like figuring out how to address it. And same with Amazon. It's like, okay, my account got shut down. How do I reopen it? What do I have to do? Who do I need to talk to like get this resolved? But yeah, for me now is actually I'm at a similar phase as usual where it's harder to find real estate deals for sure than it was a few years ago. And honestly, that's a little bit of what pivoted my focus was rates got a lot higher, prices got a lot higher. Like the cash flow I was analyzing deals on 2-3 years ago, it was not what I'm seeing anymore. And one of the main reasons I got into real estate was because interest rates were so low. Like I was looking for the mortgage at 4%, not necessarily the property. I just wanted to get as much cheap debt as I could, and that kind of went away. So that's why my focus is Amazon and like creating another active income stream. I looked into other things. Like I was into vending machines for a little while. I was like, okay, maybe I can do that to get active income. But really happy I found Amazon, and that's how I look at it. Like I'm gonna work my ass off building this active income with Amazon, and hopefully just invest in a rental property like way easier than I used to. I don't have to like fight to get the best deal and like renovate for months at a time in order to like build up that equity. Like I would love to buy a finished rental that I could just easily turn over, maybe a newer property. So I have a property that was built in 1899 So if I could get one, maybe 1950s or newer, which I have some of those too, but just saying, like, it's a lot easier if you can, if you have the money from an active income stream and you're just kind of using real estate as like, part of your investment portfolio versus like actively renovating is a totally different animal. So that's where I'm at now.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and like the rates being high, prices high. Like I've been talking about this on my channel. We're kind of at such a weird time. The only thing holding up the housing market is the fact that you've got so many people that have rates below 4 and 3%. They're never going to sell, and if they want to move, they're going to just keep it as a rental. And there's some stats out there that I think 39 or 40% of homes are free and clear of a mortgage. And then of the people that have a mortgage, like 59% of that have a rate below 4%. So that's like 70 to 75% of the market that's pretty much never going to sell. So the doom and gloom housing crash, it could happen, but maybe it's going to be tied to something else. I don't see a major crash in housing prices. There are certain areas like in South Florida that have a lot of listings coming on the market, but I keep hearing stories of, yeah, if I get the right offer, cool, I'll sell it. But if I don't, I'll just take it off the market. And so there's just this frozen crunch. So, okay, if rates do go down at some point in time, maybe next year, prices probably will continue to go up. And that's going to push the affordability metrics, even wider for the everyday person, especially the next generations to come, people in their 30s and 20s. We're going to be creating by default a whole generation of renters, and that scares the hell out of me. And the people that do want to get in are going to need to be able to have these types of skills that we're talking about. Not only on the skills of, okay, how do I source product, which is one of the questions to one of you to do you source your products real quick? How do you source your products?
Yeah, so I pretty much go online. There's a few different methods. The three main methods that I've heard is like one, you can storefront stock, which is you can look at other Amazon sellers, like other successful sellers, and see what they're selling. So you already know that like a big seller with a lot of reviews is selling this product, so it probably sells pretty well on Amazon. So you'd look, where can I find that? And then there's a couple other methods. There's something called Keep a Product Finder, which is where you can actually take data and filter down to products that are profitable and how fast they sell and a lot of other metrics like that. And then there's manually sourcing websites and just going through like the sale portion of a certain website, finding a price, using a coupon, and then sourcing that way. So there's three pretty much main sourcing methods. What's your favorite, Dylan?
I did a lot of storefront stalking to start out. Yeah, I wasn't comfortable. So like manually going through websites for me at the beginning was super daunting because I didn't, when you first start on Amazon, you're gated in certain brands. So it took me a long time to be able to sell some big name brands. So I was just going through storefronts, usually like actually early, like review like newer sellers, just to kind of see, okay, these are brands I could probably sell myself. And just spent hours and hours like pulling through stores and finding products that way. And I think retail arbitrage is a good way at first as well. That kind of helped me going into like TJ Maxx and Ross and stores like that, Nike outlets, and able to like just get your hand on products and learn pretty quick was really my first way. I don't do much of that anymore, but definitely a good way to like learn quick and make that extra 1,000, 2,000 a month that Joel was talking about. Like pretty, once you spend the time learning the how to look at the charts and how to sell on Amazon, like it's not that hard to make an extra 1,000, 2,000 a month doing retail arbitrage.
Especially with the best time of the year coming up. So we're about to have back to school coming up in August, and then you also have the Christmas rush. So for you, like you haven't even caught really the best time of the year yet.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I heard the other day that 51% of households in America have an Amazon Prime account. So when you think about that and the number of people that are ordering every day through Amazon, I mean, that's there. Never before in history has there been access to that many buyers in one convenient place.
Yeah. And also like some other growing platforms, like there's TikTok Shop. I know a lot of people are doing well on that. People are selling on Walmart. There's literally so many ways to make money, like content, stores, real estate. Like if you actually put in some time and research for maybe just a week straight, you'll find something that can make you $500 a week or like a month, something. There's something out there.
Okay, Parker, question for you. I have this whole kind of paper that I wrote that talks about habits and mindset and tapping into the power of the subconscious and using that as a tool to be able to reach your goals and mapping out what I call the stair step method. So buy a property, live in it for a few years, save up, buy the next one. I've got a calculator for that. How to build a $3 million portfolio over time. Do you think that type of information, that blueprint, do you think there's people out there that need that want that type of messaging?
100%. Yeah. What I made, like I made an entire document, like pretty much talking about my journey, giving any information, and I pretty much give that away to anyone who is interested in it. And you making a document like that, whether they use it or not, like it's good information to have. And then if anyone asks you or reaches out to you about it, you're able to give them an entire document that, you know, you can provide value to them, and they're going to look up to you, I feel like, down the road. Because as you guys are talking about that YouTube account, the real estate, was it Big Pockets or something?
Bigger Pockets, yeah.
Bigger Pockets, yeah. I've never listened to him, but you guys referencing that YouTube, like for them, that's so much like engagement to have word of mouth for a YouTube channel. And so if you're able to provide value, you're going to have people talking about, oh, I learned it from him. And then that's going to drive more people your way. And you're just going to be able to, it all starts to stack. Like the more value you can provide in your content, like I feel like the better it's going to go.
I feel like there's a ton of opportunity in our e-commerce Amazon communities to get into real estate too. Because there's so many guys just killing it, making good money, but like paying a lot in taxes too at the end of the year. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm assuming, you know, there's heavy tax bills in our business, and that's like a huge reason I like real estate as well. Is you can, you know, cost segregation studies and depreciate, you know, totally reduce your tax bill by a ton. So yeah, I think I don't know how to make that transition yet, but I feel like there's definitely opportunity to bring the real estate into the Amazon community.
That is definitely true. Cause like, even if you made that document, like I would read it. Cause I am at the point where I'm trying to save on taxes like the best I can. And I don't know like the best ways to do that yet, but yeah, 100%.
So if you type in how literally anyone can become a millionaire, that'll get you to the book I have on Amazon. How literally, I think that's the title.
Oh, you have a book?
Yeah, I self-published it.
Okay.
I've sold like 12 copies. Maybe like
Awesome. I didn't know that. I'm going to order it.
I'm gonna pick one up.
So it's $3 on Prime or $3 on Amazon. Because I mean, just like the Hormozy, right? Give to the ass. Like just give value away.
I read his books. Like I think very highly of his concepts. The 100 million offers and 100 million leads, 100%. I follow those a lot.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that he talks about it, you know, and goes through it so fast. There's just so much. If you want to actually implement those things, there's just so much you have to do to be able to do it. And it's definitely a journey. But like I've messed around with ClickFunnels and built like a landing page and a funnel, and I have like a 2-page Google Doc that I typed up that just summarizes the principles of my book. And you know, if you're gonna read a 7-page book versus a 2-page thing, people are gonna want to read the 2-page thing. So I think I'm just gonna put a Google link on my Twitter page instead of the actual.
Make a link tree. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I do have a link tree. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So do you think that would be better than just?
Yeah, because then you can put whatever you want on there, like 4 or 5 things, and it'd be all under one link instead of having to kind of make just one link. In my opinion, I mean, there's no best way to do it.
Yeah. Some people will say, hey, too many options mean people won't choose anything. If you just have one option or maybe 2, then maybe it's simpler. So yeah, I mean, I need to do that. So Dylan, what's the one thing or 2 things that you would tell somebody that wants to this process and make some money that they either need to know or do to be successful or to shorten the time frame?
You think like specifically Amazon?
Yeah.
I would say like like we've been talking about, take it seriously, invest in a mentorship, or just invest the time into binging every YouTube video you can. Like invest that time or money if you have it up front, to just learning as much as you can, and just go and do it. Honestly, like it's as simple as that. Just like listen to the content you're getting and do exactly what they say. Like don't question it. There's really good resources. They're putting them out there for a reason. So just literally do what you're learning. Download the apps, get SellerAmp, go into the stores. I just recommend that right out the gates because I think it's the quickest way to learn. Just go into a store and scan everything you see, and you're gonna you're gonna learn really quickly, with low risk. Like worst case scenario, I don't like to say this, but you can return the item if it doesn't sell, or it's a very low capital to get into it. And yeah, you're just gonna get that feedback quick and just continue to iterate on what's working. Like just nail down on what's working, keep doing it, and it's not that hard to scale. Just do what the gurus are saying because they're saying it for a reason, and it does work.
Yeah. And I think that first step, like one of the things that was daunting for me is like, okay, what do I do to start a business? And it's pretty much, you got to start an LLC. And I thought that process would drag out like weeks, months, but you realize like you're really just going onto the state website and like applying, and you can have an LLC within like 2 days. And then once you have that, it's like, okay, now I can get a business credit card, I can get a business bank account, and then you're pretty much just getting the subscriptions and you can be buying within, 1 week.
Okay, so Lauren, you mentioned something earlier on. I meant to bring this up sooner. That some of the bigger companies, there could be some larger contracts for like $100,000 in that world of the tortoise stuff. How do you get there? How can you coach somebody to get there?
Really, honestly, you can just go talk to them. There's so few. Well, there's a site for all registered tortoise agents. So if somebody's looking for someone, they can just go on the site. There's not that many people. It's not competitive at all. People are super busy. And in Florida, there's a lot of large housing developments going in. And you could literally go to their office and say, hey, I'm a registered tortoise agent. And if you guys ever need tortoises moved, give me a call, and drop off your card and do that into all of the big developers, because they're looking for people all the time. There's not enough people. And you can also go to the recipient sites where they're being moved to and say, hey, I'm a registered tortoise agent. If you know anyone who's needing someone to move their tortoises, let me know. I mean, it's such a niche thing that nobody knows about. If you live in Florida and you're looking to make money really easily, it's like a no-brainer. I mean, you could have a really successful business. You do have to be outside. So, you have to be okay with being outside. You're going into areas that are undeveloped land. So you have to be okay walking like around in nature. So, there's a few things that you have to be good with. It's not behind a computer like indoors, which can be really nice to do. And it's not something that you're doing remotely. You have to be actually on site, but you can do contracts. So it is something that has a start date and an end date, and you can make a lot of money, and then you can choose not to work for the rest of the year if you want to. So yeah, I mean, if you just get your certification, you'll find jobs very easily.
What did you say the cost was for the certification?
It depends on which level you go to, but it's anywhere between like $1,000 to $2,500. I think the lowest one is like 1,200, and then the next one is 2,500. Yeah.
What does that process actually look like moving the tortoise?
So you have to, tortoises don't have thermoregulation. So they burrow into the ground and they come out and they feed and they like lay in the sun or whatever. But if they get too hot, they have to go back into their burrow because it's the only way for them to cool down. So when you're catching them, the danger is that they could overheat. So you either can excavate them out by using an excavator and literally like digging the hole out until you get back to where the tortoise is in its burrow. And then you can pick them up. They don't bite you. They're not aggressive in any way. You can literally just pick them up once you excavate them. Or if you are doing like a slightly smaller job, you can dig a hole at the entrance of their burrow, and you bury like a 5-gallon bucket, and then you cover that bucket with aluminum foil and poke little holes in it. And then you cover the aluminum foil with sand. So they can't see that it's there, but when they walk either in or out of their burrow, they're going to fall into that bucket. But I mean, it's truly like, it's so like simple, easy. It's not hard. There's no like complicated traps. You could also just go out there, and if they're walking around, you could go out and pick them up, but you have to identify which burrow they belong to. But they're really docile creatures. So it's not hard. It's not like you're dealing with like raccoons or something. They don't have disease. They don't have rabies. So it's pretty easy. But you have to make sure that you don't do it during like breeding season, because the eggs are right there at the mouth of the burrow. So there's a few things that you have to know for their safety, because they're a protected species, but it really is not hard. Anyone could do it. It's not rocket science. You just have to kind of be like, okay with being out in nature.
So that doesn't scare you? Like, what if you see an alligator?
They're not really in the same areas. So, yeah, alligators are in like swampier, wetter areas. And because the tortoises burrow into the ground, they're actually in areas that are less wet.
That's good. Have you worked on your branding that we talked about? Itties and tortoises?
I don't know if after seeing that profile that Mark sent me, I definitely think there's a niche there. I could get a lot of followers pretty quickly.
Yeah, I left the letter off there, guys, just so you know. Itties and tortoises. I feel like I would be scared to go out into the wilderness. I'm not much of an outdoors person. So like, okay, you get your branding going. Maybe you do your little overalls like Sierra's doing. And you get a camera crew out there. And so if you are in danger, you're going to have support.
Yeah.
And then build your community. And
that's exactly what I thought, is if you film that, I think it would generate a lot of content for sure. If you were able to pull that, like, obviously, I just think a lot of people would then start to know about it. Like, it would grow pretty quickly, I feel like.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's probably the least of what I do, but I think it's the thing that people are most curious about when I talk about it. It's funny because it's like turned into a thing, and I'm like, this is just something that I'll do like here and there, but it's definitely not my main thing. But it's so unique that I'm like, I feel like I need to just document the whole process from A to Z, and so people can see like what that even looks like. And I have properties where there's tortoises walking around. There's just the other day, Joel, I posted on X, there a family of foxes moved into one of the tortoise dens on my property. And so now we have like 4 baby foxes running around the back. And it's like, what do you do if there's like a fox in one of the burrows? It's just like, there's definitely a lot of content there that I don't think people see on a regular basis. And I forget that it's not like a normal everyday life for a lot of people.
So is the horse equestrian farm stuff the majority of where you spend time?
Yeah, I think that's what takes up most of my time. I have Airbnbs also, but those are really automated that I don't really spend any time on those. But I have them. But yeah, the equestrian properties take up a majority of my time and energy. And the reason I liked the equestrian properties is kind of Dylan was talking about real estate and how it takes a really long time. If you can find something that you can really niche into, you can create cash flow and equity at the same time. And that's what I was able to do. Like these equestrian properties rent one last year I was renting for almost $9,000 a month. So horses are expensive. People who have horses, like they're spending thousands of dollars on vet bills. They're spending thousands of dollars on food for the horses. Like if you have horses, you have money, especially if you're like traveling to these shows. There's a whole circuit, the Kentucky Derby just happened and that was a huge thing. Those horses need to be in safe places. And if you can provide a safe environment, the owners of those horses will pay a lot of money. And there's a whole circuit throughout the US, like goes through Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, where these shows are happening and people are traveling along these circuits, and you can develop a nice equestrian property for them to stay at when they're there. And you can create cash flow and equity and have kind of the best of both worlds.
So the
Super
first one,
interesting. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I'm just really curious, like how the setup is. So is it like a stable that you're buying, or do you need to provide like X amount of land for that lease, or like what do you provide as the landlord? It's super different than anything I've ever heard. So curious about it.
Yeah, it's kind of whatever you want. Like it depends. You can choose what you want to provide, but I have a barn, or I have barns. For every property I have stalls for them to go into. And you can choose varying levels of quality, like is it wood, is it concrete, all of that. And then they need to have turnouts or paddocks. So you need to create fenced in areas where they could be outside and graze on the grass and have kind of that like relaxed time. And that is pretty much it. Sometimes you can add an arena if they're doing jumping or they want that, but you don't even have to do that. And then housing for the person. So it's really like housing for the horse, housing for the person, and an area for them to be able to turn out. But what's most important is that it's not a rundown place, not a place where the horse could be injured or get hurt. And so you need to have, you can't have like holes, fences breaking, holes in the ground, things like that. So it's really just providing something that's like clean and safe.
Interesting.
I was going to ask, like, how did you buy the first one? Like, what type of loan did you pay cash? Did you get a business loan, a commercial loan?
There's actually agricultural loans that you can use. So the first one was through an agricultural loan.
Like a USDA loan or just a
No,
local bank?
it's through a bank. Farm Credit is one of the banks. That was who I used for the first one. And yeah, there are banks that specify in like kind of these types of properties specifically.
So like a 30-year term, 30 amortization, or like a balloon, or
Yeah, it's a 30-year amortization. It's really pretty much the same as a regular primary mortgage. Another property I used a community bank here, and it's just the same as like a primary mortgage. Essentially because it has a house on it, it's the same, but it's considered agricultural land. So there's tax benefits to buying this land. Also, my properties, I chose this area specifically because it's an economic opportunity zone. So after 10 years, after 5 years, I pay 50% capital gains. After 10 years, I pay 0. And it kind of goes up proportionally from there. So there's a lot of tax benefits to getting into agricultural land. So if you are planning on holding on to the properties for a few years and then selling them and writing the equity up, there can be a lot of benefits in this niche.
so I think you mentioned on a previous stream that you purchased maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If someone was looking at stuff right now, what are you seeing in terms of prices and rates and how the numbers work out? Harder to make the numbers work, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, everything is harder to make the numbers work with interest rates right now. I have a 2.7% interest rate on one of my properties. It's like, that's crazy. That's never going to happen again. But I'm still buying. There's still opportunity out there. And I have private money lender. So I'm not even using my own money. I could buy cash. I could buy the properties in cash. So the interest rates are a little bit of a less concern, but when I'm buying those properties in cash, I'm fixing them up, turning them into an equestrian center, and then I'm turning around and selling it. So if you want to hold on to it, maybe you have to find something that you can add to, but it's really easy to, it's not like doing a full renovation. You're just putting up fences, and you could take a place that has a garage or like a shed on it and put stalls up. And there's stalls that you can order from Canada that just basically click together. They're super easy to put together, and they're an industry standard, so perfectly acceptable. You throw those up, you put the fencing in, and you have a house and you're good to go.
Okay.
There can't be much CapEx with those, right? Like if it's just fence and like a barn, I mean, I guess there's a house, but you don't have like the same type of plumbing, I would assume, as a normal rental, or all the other problems that can go wrong.
I mean, I feel like yes and no, because horses can be destructive. So it depends on what type of renters you're getting and what you offer. I've had horses that are great and there's nothing. I've had horses that are crazy that get out all the time. They're breaking gates, they're eating the fences and all of that, but you have a really high deposit. So I have no hesitation in taking out money from the deposit and fixing those things, but it's pretty easy to fix. You just replace the fence boards. It's not hard, but there definitely is CapEx for sure.
Okay. I want to take a little bit of time. Okay. So Parker, you gave me some good advice about the link tree and just putting a guide on my Twitter page. Dylan, what's one thing that you're working on that you want to be able to do to build your brand and give, guides or information away, help out the next person?
Yeah, I need to get better at that and spend a little bit more time thinking about it. I've been so focused just growing the Amazon business. I haven't thought about the online presence beyond just like posting and getting to know some people on there, which has been super valuable. But yeah, I definitely want to like put up more threads, and I kind of did. It's a little sad, but if you put up your bars and what you're scaling, you get followers and you get engagement. So that's been my strategy up to this point. That's not at all where I want to go with it. And there's like, I have a lot of tweets that I just have drafted that when stuff comes to my mind, I try to throw it down. So yeah, I want to provide more value and just kind of share like more behind the business side of it. And like, I feel like I have some good information from the real estate side as well that comes into play. So yeah, just trying to like share more valuable content. I plan on doing more threads. And just trying to like be an account people follow, not just to look at the bars, but to like actually walk away with tangible advice and like the struggle, how to overcome struggles and stuff like that. So
yeah,
don't have a strategic plan. So that's what I need to work on.
And it's hard when you're only a few months in. So for you to be dropping knowledge to everyone, it's kind of like,
right.
So you know what he's talking about. But you could definitely be dropping real estate knowledge 100%. You know what I mean? And like kind of tie those in, because a lot of people, like we've said, doing Amazon, they're starting to build cash flow. They're looking to get into real estate, and you could provide a lot of value for that as well.
Good advice. Appreciate it.
From like an outside perspective, I feel like Dylan, you could just share the process. Like from my perspective, I'm like, what does it look like as you're building? You're 4 months in and you haven't seen the returns that you'll probably see in another 4 months. But once you're already at that point, somebody is going to be looking at you going like, yeah, easy for you to say, because you're already making money doing this. But there's a lot of value in those beginning stages and sharing the struggle. Like, because the people that start following you now, as you're sharing that struggle, are going to be your super fans by the time you're successful. Cause they're going to be like, I saw where he started and I saw it with my own eyes. And so I totally believe in him and I have so much trust in him. So I feel like even if you're not successful, you almost have you're building more leverage and like depth with your audience as you grow into being successful.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Good advice. I think a personal brand, like it's something that a lot of people, I didn't even know about until probably like January. Like I really didn't even dive into it or like think about it. But I think having like affiliate marketing, just kind of like real estate, that's some of the most passive income that you can have. Like I know Miles is just absolutely destroying affiliate marketing. And that's like monthly recurring income that these companies will give you just for people like clicking a link or something. So it's pretty crazy. I think like a personal brand is almost like the best business that you can build for yourself.
Yeah, once you get it there, autopilot.
Yeah, I have people that, you know, that first networking event that I talked about that was like 20 people. All of us were, not all of us, but most of us were beginners at that point in time. And there are people who built their personal brand from day one. And I am not a social media person. I'm not good at social media. It's just not something I enjoy or really spend time doing. And it's probably one of my biggest mistakes, because the opportunities that come your way when you have that personal brand is huge. And you can't even know what they're going to be until they start coming and they start happening. So yeah, it's a huge opportunity if you can capitalize on it.
Yeah. And like you said, like the opportunities you won't even understand. I had a buddy who's like going hard into content and social media on TikTok. And within 3 weeks of posting every day, somebody reached out and paid him for a photo of himself to like paint their art. Like they literally paid him $1,000. And that was just like something that you would never imagine. But the fact that he had posted on TikTok every day, it's just like the opportunities are crazy especially, and the thing is you have to like stay consistent with it. And I think that's the hardest thing, because posting content is hard, because it's like, what am I going to think of to do today? But I think for me, like I try to put out 3 tweets a day, every single day, and just having that volume consistently has just like slowly accrued, because people will find your account. I've had people DM me like, hey, I see your account on my feed all the time and I don't follow you. Like I finally thought I'd reach out. Just having that volume and people seeing your face all the time is slowly going to accrue followers.
Mm-hmm. I know I like follow people and I won't see their stuff for a while, and I'll be like, oh, I wonder what that person's up to now. And then I just go and check back in. But if they had dropped off and stopped posting, then there would be nothing for me to see, and I would kind of forget about them. So it's like, even if people aren't looking every single day, they might be circling back around and be checking in later to be like, what is he up to now?
Yeah. And that's something like for you, like with the tortoises, if you were to like get that content going, and then you can grow your following and then turn it all into real estate from there. You know what I mean? That's like I feel like a crazy good opportunity.
Yeah.
The equestrian side too is a really interesting real estate play. Like I follow like the real estate community on Twitter is incredible. And I don't know if you guys have seen like Gas Business Guy, and like there's so many like niche accounts that are like people follow for real estate, like all these land plays, and like that's a really, really interesting niche that I feel like if you drilled into that, like people would be really, really interested in.
Well, what was the name that you said?
Gas Biz Guy.
Yeah. And then strip mall guy.
Strip mall guy, car dealership guy, like really interesting accounts.
Like the strip mall guy, they just hosted an event in New York. He's got over 100,000 followers and whatever, like massive opportunity. Do you know who Benson Boone is? The music artist, younger dude?
I don't.
That name ring a bell? Anybody?
I think I do.
He's been blowing up on social media, and just unique clips of his songs, and one of them is him on rollerblades, and then like goes up a little ramp, does a flip, and then like once he comes to land, then it like transitions into another scene of music or whatever, or maybe with a fan singing his song or whatever. Just really unique transitions. And so like I just envision Dylan, and rollerblades going up a ramp, talking about your Amazon play, and all of a sudden it like cuts into you in front of your next rental property that you just bought because of your Amazon income. Like you could do some fun stuff down the road. I mentioned film crew, Lauren, because I've actually got a film crew that I'm bringing with me from St. Louis to Florida next week. So I'll be flying down early on the 14th, and I got an event, a live stream that I'm doing Wednesday doing a private event at a place called 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐿 House. And they have like a podcast area and like a restaurant event space, and doing a live stream on cost segregation with a a CPA friend of mine on some Florida beach property, and then a live stream with a panel of some of the top agents and real estate investors as well. They're going to be just kind of chronicling the journey together, and then do some more stuff. But the cost seg stuff, like, this is like the holy grail of real estate, and not enough people know about it. And like, I'll use an example that it was used on my podcast a while back, where cost segregation, you have to be able to qualify for it. You know, either one, you're a real estate agent, or two, you put in enough hours where you can qualify as a real estate professional. And so there's only so much depreciation you can deduct on your taxes to minimize your normal income. But then cost seg, you're basically accelerating the depreciation. So that first year, you can have a massive number. It's kind of come down a little bit, but like right now, you can take 15% of that asset's value. So let's say you buy a $500,000 quadplex. 15% of that is going to be what? 75K, maybe. So you take that off of your income. So if you're making 150K, you're taking 75K off of your income. So you just save 20 grand, 25 grand in taxes. And so if you're making $1 million and you go buy a $3 million property, like, you're talking massive amounts of savings to then go buy the next one. That's why some of the people we know that are politicians don't ever pay taxes, because they own real estate.
Yeah, and those videos that you make, you'll be able to snip those down into so many different content videos. It'll be so much value. How did you, like, what was the process of getting the film crew? Because that's something I've been looking into.
It's something that just kind of came together in a little bit of a big leap of faith. And just I put something out there on social media of a couple things I was working on, and not about this event. This thing just kind of happened almost on accident. But I just put out there I was trying to connect with somebody that was a top YouTuber in the area, just to be able to, you know, pay a consulting fee for some extra help and guidance. And then a couple of connections got to this person, and they've, you know, got a pretty big brand. They're like working with, you know, professional teams and like big businesses and helping certain things with that range. So he's a young dude. His name is Braden. Now I'm blanking on the name of his profile. But anyway, just connections and asking the question, putting it out there.
So that social media all comes back to it, really.
Yep. So, but then, yeah, you know, cutting it up, using it in the right way. I mean, the framing and asking the right questions. If you just put shit up there, you're going to get shit back. You know, unfortunately, it takes a lot of effort to be able to frame it in the right way, put it out there in the right way.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, that's why they're called creators, because you actually have to sit there and create content. It's hard.
Yep. Well, guys, I mean, holy shit, we got up to over 190 or 180 views at one point from the internets. A lot of great discussion, content, ideas, and information. So, Parker, what's the one thing you're working on for your brand? You said posting 3 times a day. What's the next thing you're going to work on?
I need to get better on Instagram, like actually posting reels and stuff. I'm very good with like writing tweets, but making videos and actually providing value in those videos is kind of like what I'm working on.
Okay. Is it the editing or like structuring the flow or the hook and the content?
I think it's a little bit of both. One, the editing, and then also like just having someone to film it. Like, obviously I can have my face at the camera, but I'd have to use a tripod in that way. I'm looking into like maybe getting like a high school kid or something with the camera, seeing, because I don't know. I mean, anyone that like wants to get into videography or whatever, if they would be willing to, like, and I'll just pay them or something like that, but we'll see.
Cool. What about you, Dylan?
I like the posting 3 times a day. I think that could be a new goal, or just more consistent for sure. Adding value and sharing the story, like Lauren said, just the early learnings. Every day there's a new roadblock. So it's super easy to write tweets. There's content every day with like what you go through. So yeah, I want to be more consistent.
All right, Lauren. Last but not least.
I gotta post more tortoise content, more equestrian stuff, and just show what that process is of these 2 very strange things that I'm doing.
Okay, sorry guys, I have to put this on Lauren. I'm gonna challenge you.
Okay.
I'm gonna challenge you to, I want you to post 7 days in a row, just a picture. Keep it so simple. Don't do anything. Just post a picture. That's it. No video.
I could post 7 pictures right now.
No, okay. Well, that doesn't count. You gotta do one every single day for 7
Okay.
days.
Okay.
Because if you break the chain, then you gotta go back to 0.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Are you
That's
down?
easy.
Are you
That
down?
almost feels too easy.
Easy to do, but also easy not to do. And that's the
Okay.
difference.
Okay. I like that.
One of the
All right.
easiest things I think to get going is like just tell a story. I used a lot of like athlete stories, anything from the past, because I feel like people love a story and they relate to it. So that's kind of what I try to use at the beginning, and then like kind of get the ball rolling with that. I don't know, just something I thought I'd say.
I'm kind of like the opposite of you, where I need to do more on X. And so I'm not super drawn to X. So I'm gonna post those 7 pictures on X, or maybe it's better to do words. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Words and
Okay.
pictures.
What'd you say?
I said words and picture. Like you could post a photo and then have like the writing with it.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking more Instagram.
Okay.
I like X better because I think you're going to get more immediate traction on X. So
Okay, I'll do X. I mean, I could do both.
yeah. Okay. Pick one platform, 7 posts, 1 each day. Make
Dylan,
so
you got
simple.
it too? 7 too?
Let's do it. I'll take it on. Thanks for the call out.
Hey, we all know it's gonna help every one of us in the end, you know.
Absolutely.
Right. Love it. Well, thank you all so much for making time. Hour and a half in. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on and sharing your insights. And we're definitely gonna have to do it again and check back in on the 7 days of posting.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yep, thanks.
That was fun. Take care, guys.